How would you feel about a police officer being able to randomly subject you to a roadside breathalyzer test without any indication that you might have been drinking or driving, but simply deciding that they wanted to administer one to you? Would you feel that's a great move for public safety or an infringement on your rights? Well, the Senate is not a fan of the idea, and this week the Senate's Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee passed an amendment to remove random alcohol breath testing from a bill accompanying the government's marijuana legalization plans. The committee said the random breath testing provisions would have allowed police to ask any driver at any time for a roadside alcohol breath test without any reasonable grounds. Denise Batters is a Conservative senator, and she proposed the amendment. She joins me now from our Regina studio. Hello, Senator.
Hello. Thanks very much for having me on today.
Well, thanks for joining us. I want to start with, I think, what is the question for a lot of people who think, well, what's wrong with a random breath sample? If they're just testing to see if you've been drinking and you shouldn't be drinking and driving anyway, why is that problematic?
Absolutely, you shouldn't be drinking and driving, and that's a crucial thing. However, I don't think that we want to be in this sort of country where a police officer pulls you over, asks for your license and registration, and then gives you a breathalyzer without any reason to do so. In addition, it raises significant constitutional grounds. So we're not just looking at the individual situation, but we're looking at a case in whole where we have a significant court delay problem in Canada here right now. It's actually a crisis. And because of the decade of charter litigation that could result from defense lawyers bringing charter challenges, if this sort of unconstitutional provision was put in, then we could have defense lawyers calling this Christmas for 10 years, and we could have the court delay crisis, meaning that first-degree murderers and people charged with serious child sexual assault could be going free because their cases are taking too long to go to trial. We don't want to see that.
So second and third order effects. Can you walk us through a little bit about what are the constitutional issues you see in this proposal? Why would it violate the Constitution?
We actually heard a mountain of evidence from significant legal experts, people who had practiced for decades in the criminal law field. And in my 5 years on the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee of the Senate, I have never seen a piece of legislation so roundly condemned as unconstitutional. We had one lawyer who came and said that he was talking about how it violated Section 8 of the Charter, which is unreasonable search and seizure, Section 9, Section 10B, overbroad. I mean, he just went on and on. I've never seen such a damning constitutional indictment. And that's why we have to be very careful to make sure that the laws that we propose and have in Canada are going to stand up to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and are not going to be cause us to have that sort of significant court legislation for years and years and years.
What was the reaction you got from Liberal and Independent senators on the committee to this?
Actually, Liberal senators helped us to pass this particular amendment. It was not only Conservative senators. I proposed the amendment to remove this particular unconstitutional provision. And the chair of the committee, Liberal Senator Serge Joyal, who's a noted constitutional expert across Canada, he voted for this particular amendment. Our other Liberal senator that was there that day, Senator Munson, he abstained on the motion. It was only Trudeau-appointed independent senators who voted against it. And I should say that there's another portion of this whole thing that could be very problematic. We've heard a number of experts talk about how this could lead to significant racial profiling. And so some of the Trudeau-appointed independent senators, they talk a good game about not wanting things like racial profiling, but every single one of them voted against my amendment to try to prevent it.
And that's the idea, coming from the idea, of course, that anybody could be pulled off without any sort of reasonable belief or reasonable cause that something was wrong. Did you ever have a chance to talk to the government about why they would have thought this was a good idea, why they put it in the bill in the first place?
Well, we did have the Justice Minister before our committee. Frankly, her reasoning on different things was weak at best. And I think that she's gotten herself into a situation. The Supreme Court of Canada decision of 2 years ago was a game changer about court delays, imposing some very tight timeframes, and she has not taken it seriously enough. She still has 59 judges to appoint across the country. We put out a significant report in our legal committee over a year ago now, and she still has taken very little action on it. She when she calls us and the action that I took the other day irresponsible, I think that her actions are irresponsible, and she can't even handle the basics, like appointing judges across Canada.
Well, certainly a very interesting issue, and I know of interest to a lot of our viewers. So, Senator Batters, thank you for coming in to talk with us today about it.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to just add one quick thing as well. Our Conservative government actually brought in an impaired driving piece of legislation that was had all of the best parts of this particular bill without the random breath testing. That was 2.5 years ago. So the Trudeau government could have simply brought a similar bill into that and done something to actually take significant action on impaired driving instead of bringing in an unconstitutional provision.
Obviously, strong feelings about that, and we appreciate you sharing all the reasons behind them. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mercedes.